This one pops up a lot. You'll see it on some of our materials. Obviously, I've been impacted, and us at the Greater You have been impacted by Eastern philosophy in really positive ways. This is the yin-yang, yin-yo. It's a symbol you'll find in the Orient, and you'll find it associated with things like Taoism, Buddhism, some things like that. But this can be used in a lot of different ways. The topic that is really hot on my mind today from a lot of couples coaching that I've been doing is the theme of embracing the differences. So we talk about this in our romantic relationship series and stuff. We've touched on it, but I wanted to dive into it today and discuss the importance of embracing the differences in our romantic partner. In particular, in male-female relationships, there is a unique difference, right? That you will, I mean, physiologically, biologically, there are unique differences between the male and the female that are very obvious. But those differences go down to like a neurological thinking level, and I would dare say they go to a spiritual level too. The relationships that I find that are the most bonded, the men and women that have the strongest marriages, are the ones that learn the nuances and the differences in each other, not only your own differences in personality, differences in ways you view the world, differences in the way you think, but at a real deep level, the differences between you as different genders. That this man and this woman that are coming together to form a life together have some fundamental differences at a core level that can actually be really synergized and brought together to create that synergy of the whole being greater than the sum of the parts. Now, without getting too stereotypical and all that stuff, I'm going to let you do your own homework on what are the real differences between men and women. And I'm not talking at the cultural level. I'm not talking about at some macro level. I'm talking if you get a biological female that's really embraced her womanhood, a biological male that's embraced his manhood, and they have just chosen to bring their lives together, form a marriage in a long-term relationship, and be committed. What are the differences in that scenario that can be synergized? This is obviously a very controversial topic in the world that we live in today. Let me be really clear on this. At the Greater You, we see men and women as equal, but we also embrace the differences between men and women. That is how we view it. They are different creatures with different drives, different ways of seeing the world. I started learning about this, years and years ago as I've been in this business for a long time. And some of the things that I'm saying probably sound old school. Guess what? You're looking at a symbol that's a couple thousand years old. I am 100% old school and will always be that way, right? So that's just who we are. Call that traditional, call it whatever you want to call it. But at the Greater You, we try and work in couples coaching to help men and women in relationships see the differences and embrace those differences. Do women have a tendency to be better at nurturing, generally speaking? Do men have a tendency to want to go and provide and protect for their wife and their kids? More natural? Do they have a natural inclination towards those things? And notice the mess we get in when people start removing those things from their lives. Oh, I don't want to provide and protect. Oh, I don't want to nurture. And yeah, sure, maybe 10% of men on the planet process in a more typically female way, and maybe 10% of women on the planet process in a more male way. Sure. And could we argue there's some biology behind that? Yeah, we could. Hormone levels, there's nature, nurture, and all those other arguments. But I'm talking those general standards. And what we find is that when people embrace those differences and work with it, you can embrace what I call the divine feminine in the woman and the divine male in the man. And when you bring those together, that is when synergy is really strongest. So when we think about this as a male female, which the yin yang typically does have a male female designation, these dots that are the dark that's in the light and the light that's in the dark here, that represents understanding, that represents the bridging, that represents the amount of the relationship that's actually very similar. So those would be like the compatible parts, right? And then all the rest of this represents the complementary parts, the differences. And notice how you get the complete whole when you bring those together. So the call to action or the challenge for you is to look in your private, intimate relationship and look for what are the differences between me and that other individual. How is she different? How is he different? And how do I make those things synergize so that I embrace the differences? Guys, this happens all the way through the relationship in the way that parenting occurs. There's usually one parent who's stronger and more firm, and one softer and more nurturing. There's usually the person that's more organized and one person that's more creative. And these differences just line up. They're just there, but they can really synergize when we work together. The biggest mistake is to expect, if you're a guy, to expect your female counterpart to think like a dude. Or if you're a gal, to think that your male counterpart should think like a woman. That's when we get in the weeds, really, when we try and flip this and make this dot, take up the whole thing on each side. That sameness thing doesn't really necessarily bode well in the relationships that we've coached over the years. There's some that can pull it off. Most of the time it looks like this. Okay. It goes all the way through the relationship down to like the level of sexuality, right? The way that men and women process and experience sexual intimacy is different. It's different. There's a lot of rhetoric out there that say it's same, same, same. Nope. No, right? Biological men and women perform differently in intimacy, and learning how to synergize those differences and embracing the differences makes it so sexual intimacy is also greatly improved for men and women together. So yeah, this is what's on our mind. This is a theme that we see come up in our couples coaching, helping men and women learn to embrace the differences in each other. Yes, this happens in all kinds of relationships, right? The differences in just friendships and all that kind of stuff. Life really does need to be more like, a tossed salad. We're embracing the differences that are within it, and the whole thing coming together makes this powerful experience. That does apply at a macro level, right? But for today's conversation, we were talking about the real specific differences in a male-female relationship and how embracing those nuances can strengthen your marriage. So that's it for today. Like this video if you liked it. We'd love to hear your comments. Very important topic to us. We like seeing couples happy, healthy, and moving forward. So we'll talk to you again soon. We've got more to come.